IP because you buy those, like you can buy those kits and it comes with the powder already mixed. So I don't know if these guys go to the next step and break it down like this many hops, this many. Yeah.
It sounds like growing rice too. Have you seen how they grow rice? Those rice fields in China.
Just in the water.
Yeah. It's like hard out like that. Like there's a science behind that, like brewing beer.
Oh really?
The right amount of water your plant has to be underneath.
Planting?
Yeah, and right amount of soil underneath and blah blah blah. It's real complicated, isn't it? Like
so what? You can grow rice anywhere it's wet, or
I think the Chinese got it down to the T. Like they know exactly what to do with all the land they have and how they have those rice fields and all that.
because you think our mangroves, we got mangroves everywhere on the motorways and stuff like. That looks like rice kind of growing material. Like, why are we growing rice in our mangroves?
It's interesting because I was reading this book from Malcolm, what's his name?
X.
Malcolm Gladwell. And Isaiah, he loves Malcolm Gladwell. He got me onto
the history guy.
Yeah. The history guy. And Isaiah, he got me onto him. So I've been reading his books, right? So I read this book called Outliers. Fucking interesting, eh? So there's a chapter on the Chinese rice fields, how it relates to why Chinese are good at maths.
Hey!
Yeah. Because apparently, when I read the book, apparently it's about because you gotta be a fucking mathematician to be a farmer or a rice farmer. Because it's fucking
like really, like down to the second when you put it down, when you bring it up.
Yeah, it's hard. It's harder than. In the book, it says it's harder than farming corn and any other farming thing in the world. The hardest one is
rice.
That's the hardest, and the Chinese got it down to a T. And because of that, they're good at maths.
Yeah. So they just teach generations this math.
Well, that
thing that they don't realize is math, but it just.
Well, they look at numbers differently because you know how we have because the numbers we know is the Western way of numbers.
Just one.
But with Chinese, they look at it differently. They don't have it like that.
Okay.
So theirs is all about language. So you know how we have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Then 11, 10, and then 21, 31, 41. We're putting the first number first, and then the second number second.
Yeah.
Like 21 means 2, 1.
Yeah.
But when you come to 11, we're not saying teen 1, teen 2. We're saying 11.
Yeah.
So it's confusing.
And so what do the Chinese do?
They say 10 1, 10 2, 10 3.
And then 21.
Then 21, 22, 23.
So it's just those first 10 that make a difference. The first.
No, they say 210. 210, 210 1.
Ah, okay. So you just.
210 1, 310 1. 410 1.
Ah, okay.
And what it does,
break up the 2, then the 10.
yeah,
and
that's how they say it. So they don't say 20 because there's too many syllables. There's one too many syllables when you say it, or something like that. 20, 24.
Oh, so just the translation is too hard. Easier to just say 2, 10, 1.
Yeah, and so that reason you're cutting down the language, so it makes it easier for you to work it out.
Oh, it would be.
So, see, I read it once. I couldn't really understand it. I had to read it again and again. But
it makes sense.
It seems like it seems like the language.
Like the building
it's a
blocks.
language
Like if you want to add to it, you just got these simple concepts, and you just add to it. Whereas English just makes a new word. It's like, now we know to figure out that new word
exactly,
and try and calculate something with that new word. Whereas it's just 2, 10, 1. Now I just use that.
Yeah,
as the base.
Yeah, exactly. Because he explains it like it's when you say the number, it's in your face already.
Yeah, because it's something that you know. Whereas now 20 is like a. Well, what's 20? Like you haven't defined like a coding kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's like define 20 first so that I can use it. Whereas I know what 2 is, I know what 10 is, and I know what 1 is. So you don't need to tell me again. I get it.
See, you gotta just like that because you into all that IT shit.
But it's clever. Like that wasn't even IT stuff before the Asians thought. Before they figured out, they just said, "Oh, let's keep it simple." And then we just thought, "Oh, it'd be clever to just make a new word."
Yeah, exactly. So the reason for that chapter is to understand why Asians are good at maths.
Good maths, yeah.
And
Because the language is just simple.
because it's a language.
Yeah.
They made it. They made numbering so simple, simpler than how the Western world sees numbers.
It's funny, yeah, because I guess the things we think are simple in the English language make it so difficult for us to understand ancient languages, because we've kind of gone, oh, yeah, this word that means, 5 things in the Greek language, we're going to call it love. And that's
Right.
when it's like, oh, yeah, something love this, and I love that, and I love you, and I love flowers.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you just said 5 things, but you said the same word, whereas Greek is like 5 different words. And so that's where we kind of like thought it's making simple, but we have to unravel that thing that we've simplified, whereas coding is kind of the same thing. Like, just keep it simple. It doesn't make sense, but at least you understand it. Like,
Just like Samoan language, when you get in trouble when you're a kid.
Yeah. Because it's just like we try and take shortcuts. It's like, no, just say the whole thing. Wow, that's cool. Yeah.
So this is a cool book, man, because it's all about how results out of it when you look at how they've come about.
Yep.
Like the reason the whole chapter was trying to find out the reason why Asians are good at maths.
So is an actual reason, like,
Yeah.
there's...
Yeah.
That's really cool, though. There's actual scientific reason to it, because you kind of think, oh, no, they work harder, they just study. So does that translate to today, though? Like, these kids brought up in a New Zealand system, I guess, like, a lot of... well, no, I'm stereotyping.
Well, they transition, right?
When I grew up, a lot of Chinese kids were still very Chinese. Like, they were our friends at school, in high school, and they spoke enough to be our friends, but we knew that their main language was still Chinese. So I don't know if that's kids today, like if their main language is still Chinese. Because if it's not, then that kind of theory goes out the window. Because like, well,
you're talking about second generation, third generation Chinese.
Exactly, yeah. So the ones we grew up with, they were still farms, but they spoke enough to be our friends.
Yeah.
But the next generation, you see them now, like they speak really good English. So it's like, well, I don't know if that's their first language anymore, or So it'd be interesting if they're still that clever in English. I mean, in maths. Or if the Western learning has just, because I guess that's why they kind of keep them close and, kind of encourage that stuff. Must be they understand the difference in the language.
It's interesting you brought up how, interesting. It was interesting to me that you understood what I was talking about. Because I was trying to explain one of my stories to someone else. They were, what the fuck are you talking about? Who cares? Like, But I think because you're in the industry IT, and you know a bit of like what got involved with programs and coding and that you understood what I was talking about, because and you straight away understood how easy it was when I painted the picture for you.
Different way,
and you thought, fuck yeah, that's fucking just like how. But with your learnings and computers and that, like you automatically knew.
And I think it was the way, like, probably like just simplifying like how coding works for my kids. I remember like telling them like a robot, like, we know what's left, what's right, but a robot, like, you're telling it, so kind of like walk forward 2 steps, walk this way 2 steps, and so kind of breaking that down, it was like, oh, that's dumb, but it's like, but that's how you have to tell and so it's dumb to a human, because I guess we simplify things as for, even like what we see on a screen as being simplified for humans, but it's still the same code in the background, and that's a lot easier for the computer to understand. So kind of going, oh yeah, if we did the same thing if we could understand, because I always think, man, numbers are only like 0 to 9. Like, why can't we remember numbers? We kind of try and remember passwords, but then we struggle to remember like our account numbers and our credit card numbers. But it's only like we try and remember like 26 digits in an alphabet, but then we forget like just our, numbers on a card. Whereas like, if you just did everything in numbers, probably be easier.
Well, that came up too, because the Chinese, in the book, because Chinese language, when you say the numbers in Chinese, they're really short bursts of syllables.
Yeah.
So you can remember easily.
Yeah.
Like, when you remember the alphabet,
like a song, and it's like all of those. It's like, man, same.
But every letter is just one syllable.
Yeah.
But if you remember numbers, you're
it's the same thing, but it's shorter.
But you're remembering multiple syllables for one number. So it's all about the timing of. See, if you were to say, if you were to count to 21 to 30,
Yeah.
right? So that's 10 numbers, right? And you count 10 letters.
Yeah.
You'll finish the letters faster than you'll finish the numbers.
Those numbers, yeah.
Yeah, because the time is, it might be 0.5 of a second longer because you got more
That's
syllables.
so true, because, you tell someone to count to 100, and it's so hard, but 1 to 10 is fast.
Yeah.
But as soon as you get into 22, to 23, to 30s,
Yeah.
it's so much longer.
Yeah, it's longer.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think what the book was saying was the Chinese language actually takes that away.
Yeah, because you're just doing the 210, 220,
Yeah, exactly.
22, 23, 24. Yeah, well,
So that might be a better way for us to remember numbers as well. Because he was saying the Chinese probably think we make things too complicated.
yeah.
They look
I
at
think
the-
every language, like
They look at us
English,
funny,
yeah.
like, hey, why you guys?
That's why English is the hardest language to learn. Because I guess English is a good language to, do everyday stuff with. But it's such a, I guess it's like if you're talking computers, English is quite a high language. So English is something that, everyone likes because it's easier to read and it's easier to understand. But in terms of coding, it's like the hardest language to get to. So you kind of want to, And so I guess that's why it makes it so hard. Yeah, it's amazing. So that's such.
You should read the book, man.
When did he write that? It's probably like years ago.
I think it was like, I should look it up. I think it was because his first book was cool too, called